For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room, and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our event today. Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and Social Sciences stream, or we usually call it by R2SEP. Before we start our agenda today, I will read out the important information to all attendees. First, please fill the attendance form on the provided link, which will be shared in the Zoom chat room by our committees. The link will be closed in 15 minutes. Second, please fill the feedback form, which will be shared in the Zoom chat room 15 minutes before the session ends, and it will be closed after 1 hour. Third, the attendance and feedback are compulsory for these purposes. A, attendance is mandatory for the new ITS master and doctoral student. B, certificate of participation, which is eligible for international participants who have 60% attendance, or minimum 5 meetings. C, it is for STEM for it, which is eligible for ITS undergraduate student. Participants who wish to ask questions during the Q&A session, please send your question at the provided link in the Zoom chat room, or alternatively, you may raise your hand during the Q&A session to ask your question directly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and Social Sciences stream on today, Thursday, the October 28, 2021. I am Novia from ITS Postgraduate Office, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for this session. Before we start the session, allow me to inform you our today's agenda as follows. For the first agenda is the opening by MC, continued by the introduction to the moderator and the speaker. After that, we will get to the main agenda, the lecture session, then followed by Q&A session, and it will be ended with the conclusion and closing. I would like to remind you again to fill your attendance form shared through the provided link in the Zoom chat room, which will be closed in 15 minutes from now. Before moving to the next agenda, please allow me to elaborate about today's lecture. Today's lecture theme in R2SEP for Architecture, Urban Planning, Design, and Social Sciences stream is about common research methodology in your field, which will be delivered by our speaker, Associate Professor SRTS Dr. Nur Sidi Aisudin Matnur from University Technology Malaysia, and Mrs. Fenty Ratna Indarti STMR from ITS, who will be the one conducting our today's session as our moderator. Let me introduce you to our moderator for today. Our moderator today, Mrs. Fenty Ratna Indarti, STMR, is graduated from ITS with Bachelor of Architecture Engineering and from University of Nottingham, United Kingdom with Master of Architecture. Currently, she is a lecturer or researcher at the Department of Architecture, ITS. Her research interests are in environmental design for enhancing human experience, zero energy building for hot, humid climate, and poetic of environment on climate responsive design. Without further ado, let's proceed to the main agenda. To Mrs. Fenty, as our moderator, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Novia, as the MC of this session. So before we go to the lecture, so we are going to know more about our speaker first. So here is the short CV or bio of Associate Professor Dr. Nursidi Aizuddin Matnur from University Technology Malaysia. So he finished his PhD in Built Environment, Property and Planning from Queensland University of Technology in 2013. And then he finished his Master of Science in Real Estate, University Technology Malaysia in 2009. And then he got his Bachelor of Estate Management in Estate Management from the University of Malaya 2006. And his academic and professional experience is senior lecturer in the Department of Real Estate, Faculty of Geoinformation and Real Estate, and the Department of Real Estate, Faculty of Built Environment and Surveying in the University Technology Malaysia from 2014 until now. And his research expertise revolves around real estate and community development, property economics, real estate valuation, property management, asset and facilities management, housing development, and property finance. So without further ado, we should listen to his lecture. Now, Mr. Nursidi Aizuddin, the screen is yours.
Baik, Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Madam Fenty. Is it? Can I call you Fenty?
Yes.
All right. Nice. So you will be my moderator today, and perhaps just give me a signal for any, upcoming and so on. All right. Thank you for the brief, brief information about me. Yes, Alhamdulillah. Currently, as an associate professor in UTM, and I also being seconded at one of the university subsidiaries company for about currently for about coming 2 years in technologies and multimedia companies for universities. All right, without further ado, I think that's good for me to bring all of you to my slide for today's presentation, for today's lectures. Is it okay then?
Yes, we should proceed.
Try to make the events, smooth and cool, enjoy with all the sharing session. And I do hope maybe if some of you have questions, just highlight as mentioned by moderator as well. You can through chat, or maybe we can continue after the sharing sessions, maybe during the Q&A sessions. All right. Okay. So this is me. Yeah, quite long name there, but I love to introduce myself as CD. Actually, easy for you to remember. Alphabet C and D, that's good enough. So perhaps we meet somewhere soon. Perhaps we can go global nowadays, starting last month for Malaysia. So maybe one day I can visit you in ITS, and we can, have a chit chat, tea time or something like that, coffee talk regarding either not just within the research area, maybe on the networking business method and so on. Maybe I can help or give some idea about your current situation in your research. So as been mentioned by moderator as well, for today I will continue my if I may say, my second attachment with ITS for these sessions. So I will talk on common research methodology in your field. So as mentioned earlier, that we are going to discuss or share about the topics related to architecture, planning, social sciences, and so forth, any related. All right. So I love to share with you guys. Right, when the potential students or some of the research students came to me, and then he said or she said to me that I love to continue or pursue my study. What need to understand? Even though at this place we talk on research methodology, some of it about directly on research methodology, but I love to share with you guys that when you come into a decisions to pursue your study, I'm pretty sure because you notice, one, you want to have a higher degree of your education level. The second one, maybe because of what you think that you can help to solve the problem or any issues related to any topic. I'm pretty sure that, right? Maybe I want to study about design example, because you think that at that particular time, you think that if they can come up with this kind of design, why not me to come up with another design that represent me? So what I want to share here is that at the first place, you must understand the scenario within yourself before you continue your study. All right, so what have been mentioned by Kotari in 2004, they mentions about research methodology. So when he mentions about research methodology, actually they are mentions about considering the logic behind the method that we use and explain why we are using particular methods and why we are not using others. I just pick up a few sentences over there. So when we want to do, when we try to bring up with the research methodology, actually at the first stage, we already understood the scenario that we want to take up. You know, so with this kind of statement that I highlighted there, consider the logic behind the method we use. When you want to decide that I want to use this method, I want to use this approach, I want to do like this, but I don't understand, I don't know about the scientific name example, but you want to do such this way. So actually, when you want to decide to do such that way, you actually consider, you are considering the logic behind why you want to do that. So this is, you know, it's like simple, or I may say, mostly when students came to me, then I would describe such that why you want to do this research, what happened actually, what is the situation that you have to come up with the idea of you want to do this kind of topic. All right. So next one, continue with the understand of the scenario. Research. Some of the easy word they said, because our topic is also about research methodology and so forth, right? So some academia outside there, they love to use that. When you mentions about research, you want to dig more, you want to do another one. You already search up things, but you want to do another searching for that one. You want to researching for that one. That's why we come out the idea of research. But the main focus, the main aim is actually to derive some original finding. Maybe as today, Fenty, when she did her master example and want to pursue her PhD, maybe in her master, she found something related to slope design of a building. Example, I just give example. But during to pursue her PhD, she thought that instead of find a slope in that particular design, I want to analyze that slope reflects to the nature or weather in Indonesia as example. That's another topic. So that is, you want to derive some original finding from that kind of situation. That's another research themes. Or we can say that's one part of, we can say, a gap, something like that. You know, sometimes a gap, different thoughts, different idea, and so on. But for me, as long as there's different thing compared to the previous one, I will say that's a possibility to accept as a gap for certain research. And then this one, original. What kind of original? So originality is taking a particular techniques, applying in it a new era. That's why I said, so as mentioned, I mentioned just now, when Fenty, when she did in master, she just want to discuss about the slope, but for PhD, she tried to embrace that one and engage that one with the weather. That's another situation, right? So we call as a new area, applying in a new area, bringing the new evidence to bear on an old issue. That's also why we do a research. Being cross-disciplinary and using different methodology, also part of doing a research to contribute the originality. Sometimes when I saw the attendance, you know, S1, S2, S3, PhD, and so on, right? You know, the circle of that one, the levels of nature in doing research. I may say, if you are a first year student, you will think that your final research will be the bombastic one. It's like, I want to be a Nobel Prize. This is, you know, contribute to the community. I may say that this is only small portion for your master level. But then when you continue at the master level, your supervisor or lecturer said, are you serious? This is only part of the world, you know, you're not yet there, something like that. And then when you go to the PhD level, then you will say, oh, now I'm at the highest level of my study, doing my PhD. But for your research, actually, when you at PhD level, your supervisor will say that this is the nucleus of the world situation. Again, from first year until your PhD, still nucleus level. But for me, however nucleus you are, how small you are, as long as you contribute something, then you already, inshallah, perhaps, right? You continue, your contributions to the knowledge is already counted as a good deed. So what I want to say here is that don't, you know, give up at the first stage. Just ready with the flow. Try to, you know, always ask yourself, why I want to do this? To answer, actually. I love to use that one. Why I want to do this? To answer your own question, why you want to do a research on that particular topic. So when we do the research, when we understand the scenario, what we want to do next is actually we want to utilize the research. Attempt to seek answer to the question. That's why I said just now, you keep asking yourself, even until now, until today, even though I'm associate professor, even though soon perhaps become professor, even you are now a lecturer, we still seek answer to any related questions to our research topic. We don't want to stop our potential that we can help and expand our expertise and knowledge. And then the next one, we want to utilize research because we want to draw conclusion from data. Data here means that relevant data that you want to or apply to your research. You know, because sometimes some of the academia may say, you did not answer your research question, but your data shows some things. For me, if your data exists over there, we can swap a bit or amend a bit our research question, example, as well as our objective. Because the data maybe not answer your research question at early stage, but the data show some things. That is your outcome. You know, some students talk to me or share with me, sir, you know, my lecturer said I'm failed because I didn't answer the questions. I said, why not you discuss back with your supervisor? That is your answer. That is your data. Can we try to amend to appreciate the data that we receive? Maybe we did not achieve the first aim, but we still can achieve some things that relevant to the data. And then the third one, generalized conclusions, adds to the existing body of knowledge, improve our understanding of the world which we live. This why I put this one statement, improve our understanding of the world in which we live, because I don't want all the researchers outside there, all of them looking for become a novelist. You know, I want to do this research because I want to win this Nobel Prize and so on. I'm pretty sure if you get PhD and once you receive PhD, is you are the Nobel, I'm pretty sure all of us, those who have PhD, are Nobelists. But we can count, right? How much only that we receive a Nobels. So that's why for me, existing body of knowledge is important. Conclusion from data is important. Answer to the questions is important. So quite long slide actually. I try to speak as much as I, as fast as I can, and perhaps you can have my slide after all. All right, understand the scenario of relationship between research and theories. There are wide range of theories available. Yes, even nowadays, I may say my current theory with the situations of pandemic, global is just next to my door. ITS is just next to my door. I may say that, my own theory, right? But in research, I need to prove why you say ITS is just next to your door. Why not in your area, inside your house, something like that. So, so this is, we can say, we need to justify them through the research. So we use theories as a means of explaining our research. Yes, right? Sometimes we use that one. In terms of, sometimes we can say they use direct, like project approach. Project approach is like, we say, project based. It's not much on research. I have something, please solve this one. Maybe we don't need to capture any theories and so on. But if you are looking for theoretical part, we are looking for solidly studies on academia process and so on. Yes, at least you need to engage, or you need to put some things related to the theories, right? We can also carry out research that challenges existing theories or to develop new theories. Yes, there is reality. That's why I said, when you love to pursue your study, I will appreciate your intention, your idea, because that's back to my time, or maybe previous past 10 years and so on. Not much of us that love to continue study. But nowadays, yes, thanks God, the new nature, most of our students like, yes, I want to go to the next level, that's good. But for me, what I want you all do or improve more is actually, why not from today try to challenge the theories. All right, try to become a new person. If I may say, when you want to continue your study, pursue your PhD, I love to put this word to my students actually. I like to put that, I need to appreciate to you because you want to pursue your study. But at the end, I want, actually, when you want to pursue your study, I want you to become an expert, not me to become the expert person in that particular area. That's why I love to say to my PhD student, so dig information, what you want to be after you graduate. So the topics must relate to that particular aim. We can see that, right? We can see that in you doing your PhD, you must have your PhD aim, but as a person to finish that PhD, you must have your own aim. Why you pursue your study, why you want to do this one. Bear in mind, put in mind that one. This will actually guide you. Your supervisor, I may say, the best person that, this wrong, this is might not enough yet, you must explore more. Okay, I have my own network that can help. Why not we share your thoughts? Something like that, right? But at the end of the day, what I love to do is, if this is the thing, you think that you are expert enough, something like that. you know, try to challenge. But the good supervisor must always updating with the student, you know, the students, the researcher, try to get as much, guide them as much as he or she can. Social construction theory, there are so many theories over there, right? So you can see all the theories that I listed down there. So the research process, this is the good things. Just a simple basic lah, if I may say, the basic thing that at the first stage you must define the topic. This is a normal processes that I may say all of the supervisor will say to you. And then after that, you have to narrow your topic, gather the background, create a research questions, develop working thesis statement. The most important here that I want to, for those who not yet or just you know, not yet defense your proposal, for me the most important here is actually within step 1 and then step 4 and 5. Why I said 1, 4, and 5 for those who want to proceed with proposal defense, because the process of step 2 and 3 is actually extensions of definitions, defining the topic, right? And then step 4 and 5 is actually the yeast of your research. Create research question. Why I say create research question is important, because from the research question you will come up with the idea of your aim and objective, and from there you also will develop the potential finding at your either chapter 4, chapter 5, depends on how you divide your thesis, right? So research questions is also important things when you want to cross check your finding and your aim of your study, right? This is why I say I mentioned. So one of the questions come normally famous questions came to me. So what we want to how we want to define the research questions. What I love to share with on my audience, normally I said just give a questions. You can use 5W1H. The next slide also present the same things. Ask your questions, but then you may come up with the ideas of 100 research questions, 200 research questions for your own topic. But the good thing is you did what you want to study, right? Ask yourself the questions, and then after you have 100, 200, drop, right? Narrow the research questions to maybe 50. And then from the 50, ask again, maybe to 10. And then go to, for me, that's good enough to have 4, 3, 5 research questions for your own topic. Depends on how you want to bring your thesis. And then the next process, citation, yes. You know, and the last one is related to write the paper. Write the paper, you must. If not, you only, you know, just all your study is in my mind. No worries, sir. Everything is in my mind. Please, we can't judge, we can't evaluate your mind. So in doing your postgraduate study, you must put in writing, right? Sometimes most of the lectures just mention you do this, and then forgot to remind the audience, you must put in writing. So I want to mention, you must put in writing to make sure that that is evidence for your study. Okay, of research as our topic, architecture, design, social science, and so on. So for me, it's provide a framework of the collections and analysis of data. All right, so you must clearly understand what you are doing, right? I'm sure for each topic, each team, they have their own goal. Even for today, let's say we have about maybe soon reach of 100 students and so forth, perhaps. So with the participants nowadays, and then maybe some of us can hear from YouTube channel. Maybe all of us, as I mentioned, when you understand about the scenario, you will come out with, I say today, the scenario, the current scenario of pandemic. I'm pretty sure the participant in Zoom and participant outside there, maybe you have your own perspective, right? Maybe for me, as a property person, I may say the property finance issue for the local community. Local community where? Maybe I may say in Bandung, example. But maybe one of our colleagues here can say from Jakarta. So there is the two different angles. So you have your own goals. All right. So if I try to describe the types of research here, there are few types of research actually, concept of research and so on, types of research. The first one is about descriptive research. So what is the descriptive research? Is actually to discover the fact, to describe reality, to observe. This is how we use the verbs, right? In objective normally, the research objective and so on. So the descriptive, if I may say again, you want to describe. Descriptive research is trying to describe. Example, the questions here, based on research question, what are people's attitude toward welfare? What are the feelings or worker face with redundancy? What the feelings of what are the feelings of or you know, researcher face during pandemic? You want to describe. That's called as descriptive research. Predictive research is making projection about what may occur in the future. You want to predict, right? If I see there's vacant land here, so from my perspective, for the next coming year, what kind of design is possible of building possible in that particular area? What kind of ecosystem, right? Community ecosystem to that particular next within the degrees of distance of 10 kilometers in that particular area. So you want to predict. Example, the statement that in which city would be most profitable to open a new retail outlet on the economic perspective. As I mentioned just now, what is the best design for this particular vacant land area? What is the best, formal, some of them formal core community and so on. The community that might be exist if the development such this, such that, something like that. The next one is on explanatory research. Explanatory research is about determining why something occur. All right, so you want to explain. So as example questions here, what causes certain design to become minimalist? Why do males live shorter span than females? Is it right? I don't think so. I don't know. Social sciences maybe love to explore more. How can we reduce numbers of complaints made by customer in certain projections? You want to explain, right? You can maybe from this kind of questions can spark to come up with the new ideas for your current research. Evaluation research to monitor and determine how effective program or clinical practices achieve their goals. Like, evaluations like for today, when we do evaluations and so on, is it a good or not? And then maybe to improve further, we evaluate. Oh, maybe all the participants should turn on the camera, example. Right? Maybe the lecturer should give games during the talk. Some things, all right? So because of the time is too evening and something like that. But for me, I would just want to show about the evaluation research. Theoretical research or pure research, we can say. Advanced knowledge with little concerns of any immediate practical applications. So this one is like, receive something from the nature and then, okay, I want to do something like this. Maybe we want to detect gravity waves. Or why not we do something related to discourse analysis of gender? Maybe we want to is it right in this particular area of the gender become, confused when the development aggressively improve in that particular area because of culture shock? Maybe. You want to come up with a theoretical research. Apply research design with practical outcome income, right? So you need to apply the practical basis. You want to do something, you want to implement that one. So we call as apply research. So this scientific method of study and research is used in business, medicine, education in order to find solutions that may improve health, solve scientific problem, or develop new technology. It's also called under apply research. Survey research, this is a normal questionnaire, generalizations, just go for observation, something like that. Ethnographic research, carry out a natural setting, observe or interact with study participants in the real life environment, use participants' observations and interviewing. All right, this is how we want. Sometimes this type of research, some of the panel or evaluator, examiner, they love to ask this kind of questions because they want you to understand types of research and you to apply on academia terms to your own approaches, something like that. So that's good for you to have to understand or to have information in mind, types of research. Historical, I think some of our social sciences or even I think maybe planning, town planning, or even architectural punya research also love to go for historical research, want to study what have been done previously about the certain area and so on. Historical research involve the careful studies and analysis of data past event, right? Sometimes when they dig information to dig into critical investigations, also they can say that this is part of the historical research, right? Or we can say the main purpose is to gain and get clear understanding of the impact of past, present, and future, right? Case study, all right. On the case study part, sometimes most of the students, just a researcher, love to just pick up, oh, I want to do this area, so I want to call it as case study. Case study is actually, they have different engagement, different approaches that you need to identify. So under the definitions of case study entails the details and intensive analysis of single case. So if we want to pick up Bandung, or we want to pick up Jakarta, we want to know more what kind of the case study, right? So the case study on that particular area, so you need to explain in details. So a case study, normally a research approach that used to generate an in-depth or multifaceted understanding and complex issues in real life context. That's why some students, when they come to me, then we mention, I want to do the case study. Normally, I will ask again, what kind of case study that you want to do? Is it the real case study or just a scope of study? Two different things. Scope of study, you can I just want to use this area as a part of this testing area. We call it as a scope. I want to go in details of this area to understand why the things or the topic that you want to dig in details on that particular area. Then that is a case study. Two different things. Right? Comparative study. Comparative studies entails the study using more or less identical methods of two contrasting cases to seek explanations or to gain a greater awareness and deeper understanding of sociality in different context background. Comparative, we use the words of comparison. You want to do a study that you want to compare A and B, example, 1 and 2, right? And then you want to study about these two items, right? So as mentioned there, you want to, intentions is to compare similar issue or phenomena, different social culture setting, example, using the same research instrument, right? So it's like they have two possible, like you want to compete each other, so they have A person, A party, and B party, and then you want to compare within the scope of maybe the within the similar scope with two different party. Experimental research used by scientists and medical research try to explore about variables that might be control, or maybe we can say more to implement testing, doing a testing here and there, like a numbers of issue of COVID, right? With some things related to scope of study. So this is a good experimental. Is this research design can be used in social science research? So I may say all of mentions here can be used in social sciences research, right? And for me, social science is very big, very general ecosystem, you know, even from perspective of architecture. When you engage yourself with community, when you engage with sustainable development goals, I'm pretty sure all of them can be implemented, right? So research approaches, what we understand about research approaches, make a more informed decisions about the research design, think about which strategies will work for your research topic, adapt your design to cater of any constraint. So in the research approaches, sometimes they call as deductive, some of it called as inductive, right? Inductive is more on theory building. Deductive is actually go for implementing or testing, theory testing. Theory and hypothesis are developed and tested in deductive, called as deductive, and data are collected and theory developed from the data analysis be called as theory building or called as inductive. Deductive approaches, right? This is one of the steps that we can say under deductive approaches. First, we understand the step of theory, and then we develop a hypothesis, and then we do the observation, and we need to do the confirmations. Deductive reasoning work from the more general to more specific, or called as top-down approaches. Explaining causal relation between variables, establish control for testing hypothesis, concept operational for quantitative measurement. Right? This is like, if I may say, a straightforward statement. Example here, a structural model of green cleaning components and requirements for green buildings. Example. Objective 1, to identify the components and requirements of green cleaning for green building in Malaysia. Example. Objective 2, to establish the structure model of green cleaning components requirement for green building. So become a top down from the big one to the develops of the it's like on deductive one is actually to test the theory, right, based on what we understand about green building. Okay. Example from this is one from the literature that we can use. Maybe that's good for you to give example. So when we do, when we define, after we define the topic, we need to understand the details of what we want to do before we create the research questions. So this is kind of deductive approaches that can be used, how we develop the concept or the literature of your study. Right? So from, we want to test the theory part, right? So from the green cleaning components, what are they? What the planning part, what the product part, equipment, and so forth. Right? So after that, we categorize that one is the requirement, right? Before we proceed with the next approaches of developing the research questions, come out the idea of analysis. So the sample of deductive approach, when you come to the final result, normally we can see the benefit of rendered by green building. This is outcome, right? So from we test the theory. So what else? Either significant or not significant. So it's quite brief here, but I just pick up as example for you. You can have the slide after all. So just a pick up so you can see when we come to the deductive, how we want to deduct and test the theory part. Right? So from so many kind of theory, so end up we come up with the idea of 5 have significant, 3 has no significant relations. Inductive approach, you can see from the theory how we develop from the step of 4 theory, and then become a pattern, tentative, and then observation, the other way around, more or less. Right? Moving specific observations, actually the first one from step 1, step 4, the second one I start with step 4, step 1. Right? The same things is from observations up to the theory part. So this is the difference. Moving from specific observations to broad generalized and theories, informally called bottom up, because we want to understand from the small portions become contribute to bigger or general situations. Right? Understanding the way human build up the world, permitting alternative explanations and going on, using more qualitative data. We want to explore. Inductive approaches, we want to explore. I want to know more. I want to know more. So from A level, a small portions of level, then build up to the bottom up until we understand the ecosystem itself. Example here, inductive approach is an integrated BEAM framework to support facility management in healthcare environment. Example there, the objective, analyze needed information to support operations and maintenance activity in a healthcare environment using a case-based approach. Second one, you know, to analyze dulu. You analyze first at the ground level, and then you want to explore more. Develop beam-based framework, and then develop a conceptual model framework. So become a general at the end of the day. Example of the objective overview. This is how for the inductive approaches. First objective, they say, you know, we analyze the information within the area. Second one, we try to expand a bit, right? We explore more. And then the final objective is we develop a conceptual model, become a general that consists of overall ecosystem. This is how they differentiate between deductive and inductive. The next one is come to the research design. Right? Research design called as a framework for conducting a research project. It details the procedures necessary for obtaining the informations, and the researcher needs to identify whether they will employ a qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method design. Research flow process depends sometimes. And when you do the research, some of the university, they ask for research process flow chart to come out in your your thesis, but some of them, they are looking forward that directly we want to know your process, and you know, from the research methodology, right? Research design, and directly we want to know more your analysis, something like that. But in the research process flow chart, after you define the research problem, you must review the concept and theories and review previous research finding. Why I put here is review research, previous research finding? Because when you do a research, you must understand within your area, they are a bit different with the previous one. We don't want duplication of the study. We don't want that. We don't want that at the end of the day, when you present, suddenly you caught red-handed with, actually there are few students, there are a student already analyzed, already study about the same topic. We don't want that. That's why I put over there, you must review previous research finding. And then formulate hypothesis, depend on the situation. And there's some of them use hypothesis, some of them not going to use hypothesis, but they prefer to use research questions. So this one is depends. Right? Design research methodology, collect data, which is executions of the process, analyze the data, interpret and report. So the process of executions, analyze and interpret may be the next topics of this study. So for this particular research design is important. Right? Research methodology is important. I just pick up PhD research methodology. Why I just pick up this? Because sometimes, as I mentioned earlier, you know, this is from S1. Oh, this is a good one, right? You contribute something. Go to S2. You as only part of it, and then go to S3. This is only the nucleus of the reality world outside there. But for this one, the research onion is actually want to inform you that the possibility when you do your research, right? The levels of your research. So like PhD level, we want to make sure that you cover of the positivism, realism, interpretivism, pragmatism. There are so many isms. But for me, as long as you can contribute to the knowledge, right? Understand the philosophy, that is for PhD. Right? Understand of deductive or case study. Engage yourself to the certain contributions of knowledge to practice. That is your master levels studies. To explore about the topic, to explore about the something relevant to your area of expert. Explore. This is about undergraduate studies. This is for me. This is how I define the situations. All right. So this good for you to guide you that where are you now? Where's your levels? All right. If you think that you want to cover up to even you're doing masters, but you want to explore up to the level of PhD, that's good. But I think maybe why not you apply for PhD then? You know, so you have, when you come to the levels of postgraduate, actually it's about you. You know, it's about you. Postgraduate is about you. Where you want to bring yourself, where you want to bring up yourself, which level as you are. That is why I say at the early stage, your supervisor is only a small portions of your studies. postgraduate is all about you. You want to do. That's why those who came to me and then asked me to do the studies, postgraduate study, I like say, yes, you are welcome. I appreciate, I respect you because you come, you bring up yourself to the certain level and ask me that you want to study your PhD, your postgraduate, because you have your intentions. So I try to pick up some of them, positivisms and interpretisms. So it's about, you know, when it comes to the relation between society and individual, under the positivisms, example there, people actions can generally be explained by the social norm they have been exposed through their socializations and their social class, gender, and ethnic. Interpretivisms, individual are intricate and complex, are different. People experience and understand the same objective reality in different way, have individualism. The different things is that the positivism is actually you want to explain about the positive things, about the good things happens there. All right. So you know, in interpretivism is actually you want to interpret because of some things, right? Because of you, the studies happens there. Right, this is the difference between these two things. General focus of social research means say the points of research is to uncover the laws that govern human behavior, just as scientists have discovered the laws that govern by the physical world. But under the interpretivisms, the point of research is to gain in-depth insight into the lives of respondents. Can you see that? Right, the positive, like, you know, you go for surface. Interpretivism is you want to interpret more and more and more. So this is how you want to differentiate between positivism and interpretivism. Preferred research methods: positivism, we can say quantitative. Interpret, we want to extend more, we want to dig more, we go for qualitative. Key terms is very positivism is very objective, direct, straightforward. Interpretivism is go for feelings, subjective matter. It's like, you know, engage, humanistic, something like that. Okay. So what we the best type of your research? I have no idea, because I did not, you know, we have no time to ask you personally. If they're about 50% here, then another 50% in YouTube. So it's not enough time to. But for me, what I love to share is that what will be the best type of your research? It depends on your topics. All right. Either you are looking for qualitative, or you want to study based on quantitative. So what I can say, the easiest part is maybe we can say it depends on it's based on the types of data, right? So if quantitative, normally they will use statistical data, and qualitative, they strive to understand the meaning, understand of the phenomena, the feeling about the aim of that particular research. So there are few more slides. Come on, they still have half an hour, I think. Quantitative, right? Quantitative data, most probably on the quantitative part, we have survey, research, deductive nature, hypothesis about the extent, nature, descriptive statistic, describe pattern of behavior, finding presented quantitatively. Right, straightforward, right? I try, and maybe you can ask me the questions after all. I try to make sure that I can finish all the slides. Right. So instead of that, normally quantitative is, you know, it's like very objective, straightforward. You can count directly. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have A, B, C, D, and C, and up to Z, and so on. Quantitative research, again, it come up with the idea of the numbers, quantities, even though they call as experimental, also can be quantitative because it depends on the data that we want after all, and statisticals. We also prediction, confirmation, hypothesis testing. Yes, again, we can convert to quantitative. Large random representative. Yes, again, is all under terms of quantitative research. Instrument, test, questionnaire, normally being used under the words of quantitative research. Qualitative, very about more objective to understand the meaning of an experience, the feeling, right? You want to get close more. I want to, I want to observe about you, and then I want to ask the questions. I want to have FGDs, like normally they use in terms of doing research, focus group discussions. I want to dig more information from your perspective. They call as qualitative. Right? In inductive of nature, focus discover the new relationships, concept, understanding rather than verification of predetermined hypothesis. So qualitative normally like maybe the words of Envivo approaches, method that we use and to analyze through Envivo, or maybe MATLAB. Some of them can use on qualitative data. So quality is about the nature or essence. Work, ethnographic, grounded, understanding descriptions, discovery, flexible, involving small or non-random samples, interview and observation. This is all. But some of the students ask me, if I want to interview, then with the same questions, I apply to all of them. But I want to understand, I want to come up with the ideas of the numbers at the end, the mean, the volumes, and so on. Is it called qualitative or quantitative? I may say they call as mixed. Because you want to explore first, you want to explore, and then you come up with the idea of one, let's say, we call as indicator. So when you list the indicator, you want to come up the survey from there. So when you want to do the survey, that's called is quantitative. The final outcome is a number. So why, for me, there is more on quantitative. Where such the questions of this we ask during the proposal defense or your viva and so on. Normally, the examiner we ask either you use qualitative or quantitative. Mostly examiner we already understand, right? When you submit your thesis, we already know, this is mixed, this is qual, this is quant. But suddenly, sometimes we just want to make sure, right? The researcher understand either they use the right approach or not. Normally, when it comes to the research method, we will ask the questions of, so are you the persons of quantitative, quant, or are you the persons of qualitative, or are you used both, quant and qual, or qual as mixed? Sometimes at these particular situations, yes, I know some of the researchers, sometimes they, panic and so on. They're just like, I just apply a research method. So no, for me, when you want to defend your proposals, maybe another topic after this about proposals defense, you must know that you want to tell the examiner, this is your expert and how you become the expert from your studies, from your topic. So don't panic, just cool and calm, and then you explain clearly step by step about what you have done for your research. Right? Some of our students, yes, they come panic. When they start, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum. Oh yes, the first question I want to ask you. Okay, jam. Start at the first stage. So don't do that. Right? Just cool and calm, clear in your mind that I come here to present what I have done, to share with the examiner. This is where I want to become expert in my topic. Just go that way. Inshallah, I believe you will present clearly. And I'm pretty sure not all examiner is trying to, give you so difficult questions. Sometimes we just want to test you. After 2 years, after 3 years, explore with the same thing. So share with us. Something like that. Right? So continue then. Characteristic. So this is about the method I mentioned just now. When you want to identify approaches of qualitative, quantitative, of mixed. So this is the difference. Some of sample, right? Maybe the good guide for you guys to explore whether you are doing the right thing or not. Right? Example of the quantitative methods. The characteristic of degree of predetermined nature. Under the quantitative method, quant, yes, we predetermine. For the mixed method, we combine predetermined and emerging methods. Qualitative, we go for emerging. All right. Questions. Quant, we go for instrument based. Mix, sometimes we go for open and close ended, and sometimes we mix with the instrument as well. And qual, we go for open ended. That's why we understand that qualitative, we want to explore more. We want to ask, we want to dig. All right, and same goes to that. Then the rest. Okay, this is what I mentioned earlier. 5W1H. Ask yourself about this kind of question, right? To develop and to guide you what is actually you want to identify at the end of your study. Example, if you have a topic there, so I will ask you a question. Examiner, most probably examiner will pick up the question based on this 5W1H as well. So what are you doing? So what is your topic actually? Where's your scope? Where's your study about this? Why you do this approach? Why not that approach? Some of the questions, the normal question, famous questions for researcher. So sometimes we want to, because you drag, example, maybe because some of us drag too long. So the examiner we ask, when you start this study, is it before pandemic or not? So what is the difference between the pandemic approaches and then the effect of pandemic? So something that, you know, if your topic currently, so how you handle your study, how you handle this instrument when you drag too long, example, right? So why you do mixed method? Why not just proceed with quantitative? Why you study about this design, example? There are so many other things that you can study. Sometimes, you know, examiner just want to test you, why you study this? So some of students, sometimes because too panic, have no idea to answer the question. But at the early stage, because you determined to study this one, maybe because the spark of idea that you notice, there are no expert in that particular area, which is the difference, the current particular focusing on A, B, C, but none of them focus on E. That's why I want to study this. This is the right sample of answer. All right, then continue step by step. All right, so this is about primary and secondary research. This is normally primary is about survey poll, interviews, focus group observations. On the secondary research approaches, this is nowadays, I think most of them we can call as secondary research because they go for online research, or we can say about the desk study. You just sit at your lab, in your lab, and then explore from your lab desk, something like that. So go for literature research, case study research, but still based on the documentation and so on. That's called as secondary. So do you need to understand about this? For me, just go brief, just go general. Because sometimes if you split with your process, it might be trap you in come up with the idea of presenting your research method. Criteria in selecting research design. Back to the research design. The first one, again, I try to bring up a simple one, a brief wrap of here. Identifications of factors of predictors, called as under the quantitative. Concept of phenomenon under the qualitative. Enter the quantitative or qualitative approach by itself is adequate to best answering the research problem. It called as mixed method. This is how. All right. So this is, you know, that is why sometimes supervisor have not enough time to explore this one. Or I may say, all right, CD, can we meet next week? I want to know your progress. And for us that have no idea what kind of progress, you know, then I receive a call from my supervisor. Then talk to your friend. Just your progress, something like that, in your lab mate and so on. Then again, for me, every time you want to meet your supervisor, why not you come up with the idea of your research design, your approach that you have done, your process that you have done about your topic for that particular 2 week example. Maybe your supervisor give you every 2 weeks we can have a meeting, and share your process, share your progress. So why not? Every 2 weeks, come up with the idea of, okay, this week I want to focus on this topic. So I want to use, I did like this, and then I want to present like this to my supervisor. And then at the certain topic, after maybe 3 months or 2 months, you need to conclude. Don't just go flow with every time with the process, because you need to put stop to your study, right? So you have to make sure that after certain time, okay, we need to conclude or wrap. This is the conclusion or decision that I want to pick for my studies, my PhD. So this is only some of example. When it comes to, maybe it's quite complicated here, but I want to share with you guys, this is example of quantitative. We can see clear objective to achieve the objective 1, to achieve objective 2. That is the step over there. Very specific. Step 1, conceptual, point scale, right? Content validity, use expert panel, scale again, 4 to 5 questionnaire point scale, right? And then come up with the idea of frequency, again, quantitative. All right. And then the output final survey, again, the final output relationship with the numbers of data analysis about the quantitative facts and figures. All right. The next one, qualitative, is about explorations. So qualitative, develop document case scenario. You come up, you explore what happened here and there. The process A, process B, and then use as example from the process A, pick up A. This is the A1, this is A2. Analyzing based on information, and then to achieve this one, come out the idea of develop system example based on this one lah, right? And then demonstrate. You still, you demonstrate because after you explore. This is called as under qualitative. So under mixed method, this is before I show you the framework, the sample of framework. Mixed method ni, some of them, they have like a few differentiate of mixed methods. Convergent parallel mixed method, meaning that at the first stage, you already combine of quantitative and qualitative. And then you compare and relate that one, and then you come up with the ideas of interpretations, your final one. Called as parallel mixed method design approach of quantitative. At the first stage, you use a quantitative, and then you follow up with qualitative before you come out with interpretations or the final outcome. Some of them use qualitative first at the first stage to build up the quantitative. Right? This is also called as mixed method. And then they come up with the ideas of quantitative, then you come up with the interpretations or final outcome. So this is a sample framework. You can see over there how they use connecting of qualitative and quantitative. At the first stage, objective 1, they already compute there. And then they flow with the questionnaire again, sample again, survey again, do the qualitative, and then come up with the idea of quantitative, interpretations of quantitative. So it depends on you, right? So most probably nowadays, I may say those who are under observation, maybe they will go for qualitative overall, right? But most of the research nowadays, they will go for the mixed method approaches. All right, I try to come up with the fastest as I can, as fast as I can. Data collection, instruments, measurement, and sampling. So what's next? So the most important is actually you understand, right, what you need to do. If you want to do the quantitative, you want to do the qualitative, or you want to do the mixed method. So this is actually the scenario of data collection explanations, right? The instrument, what does it mean by instrument? Instrument is measuring instrument device used to identify your analysis, right? Measurement is actually procedure to a science, right? To measure before your final outcome. Ataupun your interpretation results. A sampling is a segment of population that selected, right? A subset of the populations, because sometimes we cannot achieve to receive of 100,000 sample population, 100,000 populations. So we need to do a sampling, right? Based on the certain previous research, right? For me, most of us maybe still refer to Taruh Yamani, but maybe some of us refer to Krijeyi and etc. Because they already did the process of sampling. So for me, why not? When you want to do the sampling, just refer to them. But if you are you want to study about the sampling process, you want to become an expert on that part, then you need to compare between the previous study of outcome of sampling. Standardized instrument, one of them have been carefully developed, has highly refined measurement procedures, process for scoring carefully prescribed in the under of the standardized instrument. So this is actually just explanations. I give you a brief explorations about instruments called as standardized. Researcher developed instrument does not have standardized as administrative procedure or scoring guide, probably does not have established reliability and validity. So this one is actually when you do the data collection, when you want to develop instrument related to reliability test, questionnaire, you want to come out your own instrument. We call as researcher developed instrument. So for me, just be careful when you want to develop your own instrument, must make sure your instrument answer your research question as well as your objective. If you did not answer your research question at the first stage, I'm pretty sure automatically you did not answer your objective. That is why when you want to come out some things related to research, I always remind, please answer your research question first. Even though you analyze, you already at the levels of analyzing your outcome, again, your analysis must be reflected with your research question. We don't want that you analyze something that did not answer your research question, wasting your time. All right, so that's why keep asking, always asking yourself, always keep digging information. Ask why I do this, what this outcome purpose for, something like that. All right. Factors to consider in selecting instrument: the research method, as I mentioned earlier, the research questions or hypotheses that you apply for your studies, the analysis procedure of the studies. Right? Again, the same thing. You must make sure you understand very well. Are you quantitative? Are you referred to historical process? Are you referred to only explanation, exploring, or are you referred to evaluate something, etc. And then to decide on the instrument, review the study method again. You must understand the research method. Now you review before you decide whether this is a good by applying questionnaire, or is just a simple of we go for focus group discussions, interview sessions, something like that. All right. Select the instrument type. Yes, you have to make a decision. Again, when you do a research, not always doing research without full stop. You must put full stop. That's why you must put a decision. You must make a decision when you want to put a full stop. In deciding the instrument, also you must put a full stop. Okay, I think the best approach for this one is actually a instrument, because I want to use this kind of a research method to answer the a research question, something like that. Always reflect yourself with research question, research method. So measurements. So for measurements, we have non-parametric scale, nominal scales, and ordinal scale. This one is actually a sample over there. Yes or no, convert to 1 or 2, A or 0, A or B, satisfied, dissatisfied, very satisfied, Likert scale, right? So you must understand the measurement method, the approach that you want to use. All right. So under the parametric scale, they use variables. Under that also have interval scales like age structure, below 5, below 6, and so forth. Ratio measurement scales is actually like interval scales, absolute 0 point, that has an absolute 0 point, usually used in physiological measurements, right? So the sampling within the provided given time, only few minutes left. Normally, three major problems have been dealt with effectively is actually definitions of populations, samples, design, and sample size. Right, sampling, you can use probability sampling, non-probability sampling. You can use simple random, cluster, anything you can use, right? So the most important is actually, and when you see at the diagram over there, the most important is actually understand the sampling method itself. So does this sample apply to the probability samples, or do we go for non-probability samples? All right. So this is actually just an explanations, example of sampling. You can have a look at this one, but the most important normally as an examiner, they just want to know, are you going to apply a probability or non-probability? Right, the rest you can have time to study more about this kind of approaches. So that is why normally if you still confuse the population size, definition of population from your scope, that might be critical for you to explain about the sampling. So at the first stage, you must identify, if you are going to use the population, involved population and so on, you must identify what is your population, or who will be your populations, right? Identify that one. Then you will justify, okay, if your populations is related to tiger, example, right? So you need to justify sampling based on that numbers of population. So tiger, you go for statistic department and so on, how many tigers still exist in your area, example, right? So if you think that this difficult for you to capture all the tigers, then you come up with the idea of sampling. Go for how much or how many only samples that will represent the whole populations, right? So the rest is actually to make sure you strengthen the details of this one, is actually to make sure that you strengthen your justifications. Right, so from this sample with these figures, because I use the stratify or something like that, right? You can go and details afterwards. So under the non-samplability sampling, there are few more about judgmental or snowball. I may say if a new research, maybe they love to use on exploratory, they love you to use snowball. Like for today, we ask Fenty, maybe Fenty, we ask a few more colleagues over here, right? Your colleague, then your colleague ask another colleague. So that's called a snowball. And then from there, I will capture. Okay, thank you, Fenty. I will go and meet your colleague. Then thank you, your colleague. And then I will go another colleague. So it's like drag, like dominoes. From first start and then drag to the rest. Okay, few more slides. The data analysis, this is a sample of qualitative. Also, we already discussed earlier then, essentially, about content analysis, typological analysis, discourse analysis, quasi-analysis, narrative analysis, and so forth. Right? This one is actually want to make sure to guide you are in the right path. Right? There are not much reflects to during your proposal defense or your final thesis during the examiner. Right? Examinations. So it's just like to make sure you in the right path. Quantitative describe static stats or inferential stats. Also, this want to make sure that is why I said when you understand very well about your methods, you will reflect the analysis as well. All right. So if you understand your method, you already know. Okay, I want to use quantitative instead of qualitative. Because during the analysis, I want to use the inferential statistic example. So you will analyze about variance, ANOVA, correlation, regression. All of these have their own purpose, which is you need to explore more within the next, after this steering, right? Which is that why you want to use this. This is a spot question from examiner. Why you want to use this analysis? Why not another analysis? You are the one who will describe why you want to use that, right? As a researcher. you have to explain, I use this one because I want to see the correlation between A party with the B parties. And that B parties and A parties is actually based on the populations that I come out with the quantitative approaches that I already use at the early stage. Something like that. Right? You must have you need to justify why. And sometimes maybe you can extend a bit. Instead of that, why not? Right? Use why not. Right? I'm pretty sure maybe if you in the lab, you have a few colleagues, lab mate and so on. Sometimes they just try to trigger with how much you read the book and so on, right? Okay, they know you use correlate regression example. Maybe some of them say, oh, I found something related to PLS, ABM. Why not you use that one? There's more sophisticated, more more details. Maybe for your research, no need as detailed as what mentioned by your colleague. That's enough for you to use a simple regression that really answer your purpose of your study. So don't drag yourself with so confusing world of research. All right. All right. Important points. Okay, I think there are a few more left. Just nice with the time given to me, I think. So the important point here, from what I'm sharing, yes, I'm quite certain information you need to read it again. Maybe I just pick up a big important point. Provisional title, yes, but I love to highlight to you with that two purple circles there. The first one, research question. Second one, research objective. Because this is about research approaches, right? About that common research in our field, right? So for this one, this is two important points. The main important point, research question, research objective. And come up with the research method. Why there are three circles of yellow over there, orange over there? Professional title, research aim, research methodology. Because that is also important. The process to come out the thesis, the research itself, right? The process. That's why I just come out. That is also important. But the most important here is the two circle, the two purple circles, right? You must make sure. If you think that when you ask yourself, I'm doing like this to answer these questions, but when you explore, you notice that your answer is not answering the research question. So please recheck your process. There might be something wrong somewhere, right? So that's why I love to advise all of you, my colleague, as a researcher. I can put as you all as my researcher colleague. Always ask the questions. Like we are not going to be perfectionists, but we are trying to solve something relevant to our study, our research. Keep asking the question, why? And up to the certain level, yes, we need to put full stop. I love to use this answer from I share with my colleague. When you can't answer your questions during the exam time, right? Exam periods of the viva and so on, you may say that yes, that might be a good proposal from the examiner, but I believe this some of the example sharing answer questions, but I believe that for this particular research, that's good enough to explore about this kind of levels, meaning that you want to highlight appropriately, appreciate with the new concern from the examiner with that I appreciate your idea, your question, but this is my full stop for that certain level without ignoring at all. Okay, so this is why I said this is a good way or polite way to appreciate the examiner. So maybe another important point, based on your research topic, identify suitable research approach, research design, method that can be adopted, and explain why are you planning to use that method. This is another important point that I think. Keep asking yourself about your research with 5W1H. if I'm not mistaken, last group of sessions, some of you know about 5 wives, 1 husband, right? I don't want to use that because it's quite struggle. So, you know, just use 5W, 5W, 1H. That's good enough, all right? Yes, there's there why they use wife over there and 1 husband. Maybe they have their own justification, but I don't want to pick up that one. Just keep asking yourself in doing your research. Keep asking why I do this, why I need to do this, how to do that. Is it which this is one the best approaches? How this method can help my research? How these approaches can help my research? Right, something like that. And I love to share with you guys that whatever topic you are doing just now, you are doing fine. As long as you understand your research question, you understand your approach that you want to do, and you can, you know, like, you know what is your final answer will be appear at the end of your study. All right, I think with that, thank you for me. Back to you, Moderator Fenty.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CD. Should I call you that?
Yes, no worries. That's good enough for me.
Okay, so that's a very condensed lecture, I believe, because you cover a lot of things that students sometimes get confused about and then becomes big question for them. And I could highlight that the most important thing here at the beginning, we have to understand the scenario or the motivation we do our research. And some students maybe, because you mentioned that nowadays going to postgraduate becomes more popular. Sometimes it's just following their friends and then suddenly do not know what is the scenario. So
they
thank you.
confused with their purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, yeah. So that's a good session from Mr. CD. Now I would like to invite participants to give questions to the speaker. You can use the chat box or the link in the chat box as well with the format, or you can directly raise your hand and then we will give the access to directly ask the question to the speaker. So I will give you time to think about the question while I maybe have a discussion with Mr. CD now. So regarding about the scenario that we are talking about, we have to understand about the scenario. Sometimes students know what topic they want to do, but then when they are trying to narrow down the topic itself, they do not know where to go. Like the general topic is there, but then when we as a lecturer ask about then what happened with this topic, and then they just I don't know, but I want to explore this. So those kind of thing. How would you mind to give tips or information about how we can narrow down the topic so that it's engageable as a research?
All right, thank you, Fenty, for the this is a good kickstart lah, spark question, right? Yes, I think with the current scenario, you know, with the you also mentioned nowadays we just follow our friend to join, they're doing research. Okay, that's good, let's go. I have allocation, then why not? Some of the university have scholarship and so on, you know. So this is, I think, general issue that faced by lecturer and students. Or we can use as a researcher lah, right? We use a researcher. They have the topic, but to narrow down, they start off blank. I love to use a simple concept of ecosystem. The word of ecosystem. Why I say the words of ecosystem? Because when you understand the topic, you must also understand what engage with that topic. Okay, what engage? Okay, then I use the words of engage. Just now I use the word ecosystem. Now I use the words of engage. So when that particular topic have been you already explore, the researcher already explore, to narrow down that one, when you engage with that topic, you will see that actually there are so many things that you need to discover. Now you want to use the deductive. You want to remove that maybe cannot capture either based on period of time. you want to study, let's say example, you aim for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. If you need to engage all, maybe you did not cover within that period of time. So now we start to deducting some information, deducting engagement. So first you have topic. Now you have to understand ecosystem. After you understand the ecosystem, you have to make sure you understand the engagement with within your topic. Next one, you need to remove. Because sometimes students, panic. That's called the words of panic. Actually, they have the idea. The researcher, they already have the idea. But when they want to explain to us, it's like, sir, something like this, back to again topic. All right. So for me, I would like to advise to all researchers outside there, try to explain step by step. All right. Yes, lecturer, you first. I'm pretty sure all of us we share with the supervisor. Okay, this is my topic. I want to do like this, a big area like this, and so on. And then ask yourself, what's next? That's why I said, you know the ecosystem, you know the engagement partner parties that involved in your topic, then try to remove. So after you try to remove, actually you already involved with the what's next. Right? So after you understand, identify all the factors or indicator, you are now narrowing down the topic. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure the real solid item of question that you want to solve. You have to remember that. If you have, let's say, engagement from the ecosystem, and then you have engagement about 5, within the 3 years, you want to analyze about 5, and then you notice that that 5 indicator is actually cannot be achieved within that 3 years. Remove them. And then after that, only left 2. From that 2, actually that 2 will answer the real solutions, the real questions that exist in your mind. That's why I love to ask my researcher, when you have your topic, develop your research question. So when you have your research question, that will help you to narrow down your topic. That's why I said, some of them maybe first day, because too excited, right? Oh, today I want to meet my supervisor. First time ever as a postgraduate student. So I have so many things to ask, to put in. This is all my questions. At the end of the day, supervisor just gave a questions. So which one that you want to study? And then again, So again, can you see the difference between undergraduate and postgraduate? Now supervisor still digging or keep asking you as a researcher. And again, yet you are the one to make a decision. And then yes, I'm sure supervisor, those we know when the researcher come to us, and then we know sometimes you are totally stuck, totally blank. Then I'm pretty sure on that particular part, supervisor will play their rules. Why not? Normally, supervisor will start with that kind of question. Why not you explore like this? You explore like this. Who explore like this? Researcher. And then again, I think that's a good topic. And then, okay, that's you all try your best to narrow down. But don't you think this one, we have something like still big? Still, there are few points there. Then again, can you go and explore again about this one? Again, researcher need to explore. So maybe I think that's a good, that's some tips lah from me about your question.
Okay, thank you. That's a very easy things to follow, even though it's hard to apply.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have one question in the link from Muhammad Harits. So the question is, if we are dealing with existing method throughout our research, what is your advice for this situation to avoid duplicating or plagiarism?
All right. So now, yes, for me, because when we are doing research, thank you, Muhammad Harith, if I'm not mistaken. When we are doing research, yes, the most important thing is the issues of plagiarism, right? giving advice on these situations. All right. Actually, if I may say, the numbers of situations, the potential situations of having the same approaches that we can consider as plagiarism is actually when the final outcome is totally similar. It's not about the approach similar. And when you mentioned just now about the method is similar, the probability of having the similar method, yes. Let's say example of I'm doing exploring about the design of slope, I mentioned just now, and Fenty also doing a design of slope within the difference, within the difference of building. So there's possibility different building, no plagiarism, but the approach of handling that one might be similar. But again, the final outcome of my study will be critical to make sure that I'm not plagiate Fenty studies, Fenty research, right? So in these particular issues, what I would like to recommend or advise to all researchers outside there, if you think your approach is similar, even though for me, sometimes on the approach part, we can say that it must be different. You know, even though the approach at the first stage, I'm using regression, I'm using Innova, I'm using historical and so on. The name might be similar, but the engagement of your exercise might be different. So I think when we nowadays there are so many test tools, right, to test either plagiate or not. For me, the way you explain during your methodology, you must bear in mind when you want to explain in your thesis. I would like to recommend that try to explain as detailed as you can. Right? Even though the plagiarism tools analyze your thesis, I'm sure there will be when we as examiner cross-check the similarities, we can see the difference between the approach that you use. So for me, the best way, if you think that similar on methods and so on, try to explain further what is the difference between you and the other one. And if the final outcome is totally similar with the previous one, and then even you use the similar approach, similar building, confirm that's plagiat. All right, so no more ways to handle that one. I'm pretty sure. In research, if you also use the similar method but different scope, different entity, different engagement, we still not apply that one, not call that one as plagiat. All right, we still can accept that one as different things because you contribute to the new knowledge from your perspective. All right, I think I answered the question. I do hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. I think the conclusion is it's okay to duplicate the methods, the approach, but there must be something different. It's not totally the same. If it's the same, that's plagiarism. But if there is something what we call novelty sometimes.
That's another word, novelty. Or some of the examiner we use contributions of knowledge. Something like that. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so maybe because we have limited time, I will ask the last question.
No.
So the question is, sometimes practical students who works with their research, they have known the steps of their work. So the research design is done very well. So it's very clear what they are trying to find and so on. And then is it okay to start from the research design, from the practical one, and then into the categorization of the approach? For example, this one is called this, and so on. Because sometimes from practical perspective, they already define the steps of the research, and then they try to find, oh, what is this called in the research term? So is that okay?
All right. Thank you, Fenty. That is normal question for those who come from practitioner. That is normal question. Yes, I may say that the difference between we are doing research and project is actually when we are doing research, you are become a postgraduate, a student or researcher, we are bring that project to the academic writing. So in this situation, the situations of practitioner outside there, they already defined based on project and so on, then we go backward. So I may say, yes, you can apply that, but again, you must make sure you need to capture with the academic terms, research term. I'm pretty sure outside there we can say cost-benefit approach, example, because project, right? Cost-benefit approach. We want from A, implements of this design and so on, I want to make sure income. The process have been defined clearly during that time when, you know, in the project base. But then when we want to bring to the research, you know, you need to like go backward again a bit and then try to apply. Okay, this kind of approach is actually their study. This kind of approach is actually literature's reviews. This kind of introductory is actually the ideas of problem statement. So for me, there's no right or wrong in doing that, because sometimes even as a lecturer, even like me myself nowadays have been seconded in the new place, me myself sometimes, you know, you need to go in the various ways of developing a research or developing a project. Even sometimes me myself caught with confusing just to apply for project and then to apply for research grant. Right? You know, you put that is why I think there's no wrong in applying backwards like that. But for me, the advantage of those who came from practical side is actually they already at the process of in executing. They already expert in that part. They know, they want to identify this. But again, you need to, everything you need to justify. Why you do this? Why you do like this? Why you do like that? Maybe on the project base, as long as you solve the problem. But in research, how you want to, how you did that? How you do this? How you do that? Justify why you do that. That's only the different things. So for me, if you want to go backward a bit, no problem, just continue. But the most important things, those who from practitioner, when you come to the research as under postgraduate research, you need to use, you need to remember that you are now in academia world. So academic writing is a bit different with project writing, practical writing, something like that. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the great answer. So now, because we almost reach the end of time of this session, so I will give a big thanks to Mr. CD for the explanation. It's a very fruitful discussion, and then also the lecturers. The presentation is very condensed. I mean, the information is very useful for us. Even for me, I capture every slide of yours.
Thank you.
So that I can use it as a reference to my student as well as myself when I develop a research. So thank you for coming today. And now I will give the screen to the MC. Mbak Novia, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for Associate Professor SRTS Dr. Nursidi Aizudin Matnur for the great and inspiring lecture today. And thank you, Mrs. Venti Ratna Indarti STMR for conducting this amazing session. Please give applause for our inspiring speaker and amazing moderator by using the Zoom action feature for today's empowering session. As a token of appreciation, I would like to present a certificate for our honorable speaker and moderator. So this is the certificate for Associate Professor SRTS Dr. Nursidi Aizudin Matnur as our gratitude for today's session. Thank you very much, Professor, for your availability today. in providing the lecture session on common research methodology in your field.
Thank you.
For the next certificate will be presented for Mrs. Fenty Ratna Indarti, STM Art, for being our moderator today. Thank you, Mrs. Fenty. Before we part, I would like to inform you that there will be IPS Conference 2021, Striving for a Successful Postgraduate Research, that will be held on 11 until 13 November 2021. And the important thing is the deadline still tomorrow. And we will have future agendas on R2SEP for architecture, urban planning, design, and social sciences stream, which will be conducted on October 11, 2021, with the speaker, Dr. Rex Lim from University of the Immaculate Conception. Next. Okay. Before we end today's session, we would like to invite you, all participants, along with the speaker and moderator, to take a group photo. To all participants, please turn on your camera, and we will stop sharing now. Please turn on your camera. Okay. I will make the countdown. Be ready, put your best smile, and I will take the picture. There will be 3 slides.
Thank you, Madam Yasinta.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nursidi.
Right.
Cheer up and keep smiling. There will be 3 slides. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And then, oh, please turn on your camera. I think there is just 1 slide. Okay. Now that we have finished the group photo, I would like to remind all participants to fill the feedback form provided in the Zoom chat. The participant who will get stamp for it is the participant who comes on time during this event until the end, and also fill the feedback form. Finally, we have reached the end of the data step, and we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience during the session from me as a master of ceremony and the committees. We will see you again on the upcoming session. Once again, thank you everyone for joining this session. Thank you, the speaker and the moderator, for the inspiring session. Good evening. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam
And all the best to all of you.
Terima kasih, Bu Fenty.
Thank you, Prof.